So from here, we are into the student B, their profile, and I like to start at progress. So we know that they're an early childhood development student, and we can see a general concept of progress here in terms of what they're meeting in terms of their total credits and so forth. And then I like to go to the bottom. We can see here that they have not started their English courses yet. And so I like to start at the bottom actually of the courses, because this will give me my course equivalency in terms of their prep work or their test scores. And so we can see that this student meets the requirements for starting basic English. And we go up here and we see that their English course has not yet been taken. So that's probably an excellent course. In fact, I would recommend always that our English is where we start with all students. It's really, if students can't read and write, they can't succeed in college. And so this is a great place to start. This student also needs art for elementary teachers. So just for kicks, and this is where I will start for today. So we want to get them in an art course for this coming semester. So we simply click on art. We can see they haven't started it. They need 2 courses from this area. And so this particular student, test subject B, wants the art for elementary teachers, and we click on that. It's also a good course for a first year student. Now, there's a couple ways we can go. If we are trying to just form a plan for the student so that they can go select their own courses, we can simply add this course to the plan. And we will see within here what their prerequisites are for the course. When it's offered, we select a term and we select that they're going to take it in the winter. And we can add the course to the plan that way. Now, if we go back to their timeline, we will see that this winter they have art for elementary teachers here. They still need to schedule the course, but the student can get in here and they know that they need to do this. Now I'm going to delete this. This is how you delete courses. And I will go back to our progress sheet. Select Art 158 again. And this time we're just going to schedule the course for the student. So we will check the available sections for this course that are open. And we have a couple. This course, it looks like, was last semester. So obviously we don't want that. We want this one here, which is for this coming winter semester. It starts on the 9th. The course meets from Monday to 5:30. We can also look at the location. The previous term, it was offered as a online course. This term, the course is being offered live in a lecture format. So if the student likes this particular course, we simply add it to the schedule. It will show us the lab fee of $10, dependent waivers, so forth. Basic information. We can go to the bookstore and we can add the section right here. Now, when we go back to the timeline, we see that the course is scheduled right here. So it's in the course's timeline and in the student's timeline for winter semester. And we can go back to our progress sheet. And we notice now that the course is planned. It's not in, so if it were actually started, it would indicate that here, or if it had been taken, it would indicate that here. But in this case, whoops, yep, right here, it is in planned status. So this is how the student will be audited as well. So one of the first things I would actually note, I should have noted this up front, is if this is not the student's program of interest, the first thing they need to do is go back and change their program of interest, and then it will repopulate such here. And that is the simple basics of working with students to get them enrolled in courses and so forth. So I'm going to unshare my screen here. Tracy, did you have anything to add at that point?
Just one thing, students can change their program of study. There's a link on their view, but it doesn't instantly change their program of study. So if you want to view a progress from a different program, you can do that, but it doesn't automatically update. So the student does a change of program form online through their WebPal, and that gets sent to us, and we manually update that. So it doesn't automatically happen, but they can view progress of other programs. And so can you.
Is that the view a new program or load a sample course plan?
View a new program.
Okay, so we can go here. Let's say this student wants to move from the early childhood to Associate of Arts or Associate of Fine Arts. We simply select it. And now we have that program here. And notice that same class is actually working here as well. And actually, that's very important for advising. That's the pathway concept. The pathway concept is truly that we want students in their first year taking classes that if they do change plans, would still carry over into the plans that they're likely to change into. And so that's very important in terms of the pathway concept. I will unshare. Kim, I'll call on you first before I unshare.
Sure, thank you. And of course, I'm in my WebPal right now, and I don't have a test account to be able to move around in, so I'm being very cautious because I don't want to enroll a student that doesn't want to be enrolled. But when I go in and I click on the progress and I've picked a student, I've gone into the progress, I've taken a look, and I've clicked on courses. I don't have tabs that say add to plan. I'm not able to do that. And I did work with a couple students actually at the end of last semester, and I had to write down the information and they had to go and do it themselves because I never saw anything that said, add it to the plan or to register the student directly.
Okay, so when you walked through, let's just do it again real quickly then, okay?
Okay, please.
So when you selected a course, so I select, I'm gonna select something different this time, English Comp, right? And then view available sections. If you go up here, it will not give you that option. You have to do it below. Is that what you did?
Yes, but there is, I don't have the add course to plan. And even when I click on the section information, view available sections, and click on a specific section, it takes me to the section details. And it gives me the course description and the additional information and a link to the bookstore. But there is nothing that says add section to schedule.
Okay, Tracy, is it possible that this student has a financial block or something on their schedule?
I think it's the way the system's set up. I think there are two different security access.
Yeah, I'm seeing in the chat, Scott, that there's a lot of people saying they don't have that as well.
Because we've not really ever utilized this for registration, I think only the advisors or the counselors have access to do this online. So that can be addressed.
That's good to know. Thank you. And we will fix that immediately.
Okay, wow. Thank you.
Good conversation, Kim.
Yeah,
I would have no idea without someone bringing that up because I've always had access.
Thank you.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Kim. And I see another hand. I just need to get to where it's at. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can pull my screen over and enlarge it and see questions and so forth. So let's go to, let's see, people. And Helen, good morning.
Hi, good morning. When we add that course to a schedule, is that then they are actually enrolled? They're going to get charged for this? Or because I know in the past, like you have to,
Yes.
I mean, that took some, okay. I just wanted to make sure. I mean, we should only ever be doing that with the student there approving it. Right? I mean, I can't just go in and say, I'm going to register all my RT students for the RT classes every semester. I wouldn't do that anyways, but it kind of scares me that I have the power to do that. I just sign people up willy-nilly and charge them for anything. So I don't know.
Please don't do willy-nilly.
Yeah, no, and I'm not, and I would never, but I don't know. It's an interesting, and I guess that makes sense and why that security clearance was different.
And we'll make sure to do that. You should only be doing the students that are your advisees. And you do get a list of those from me. If you don't, each semester, please let me know. And I also email all students. I've done this since I've been here to let them know who their faculty advisors are as well. Now, the other situation in which you can absolutely register a student or take a class off or so forth is if you have an email or something like that from them.
So I have one thing to add to that. You should
Okay.
not ever register a student unless you have consent from them, obviously. But when you're meeting with students, you do need to verify who they are. So if you're meeting with them in person, they should be showing you a valid photo ID. If you're meeting with them over the phone, you should be verifying their name, their student ID, or their social security number, their address, and their birth date. And I believe I send that information out every semester with the FERPA reminder.
Mhm.
So those are things that we need to keep in mind when meeting with students and prior to sharing any of their educational information with them, as well as registering them.
Yep, and this is actually getting towards where I want to go because I want to make sure that we're making this as simple as possible for everyone and that they have information available to make them feel comfortable. And so one of the things I do want to do very promptly is identify a small team of faculty to work with and draw up, and with your team as well, Tracy, draw up simple procedures. So we can include those things that would make sense to include right in the procedure for advising. Zachary.
I had a question about advisees. So is it common for me to be an advisor for someone who is not in my program? Because we're noticing that like across the CIS field, it's pretty common that we're getting people who are not in our program. So when they come to me and they say, hey, what's the next graphic design course I should take? I have no idea. That's not my program. Mine's computer science. So
Sure.
if it's not supposed to be like that, how do we fix that?
Yep, and that's something else I wanted to address today. So we do try to align advisees with advisors as closely as possible. And actually, Tracy, would you mind just giving a little bit of detail as to how that is done each semester?
So the system has a process in place where we're assigning certain program codes to certain faculty, and then there's a process that's run for all enrolled students. The system assigns based on those rules. It doesn't always work properly because the students don't always have the correct program in the system. And there are some times when we do have faculty who have overload and we have to assign them to another faculty member. So unfortunately, there are times where you do get assigned students who are not in your program.
Yeah, so here's what I'll say to that, though, Zachary, because I don't want you advising students you feel uncomfortable with, is when you have a student that is out of program like that, please refer them back to our admissions department. You can refer them to me. You can refer them to Tracy for reassignment, and we will gladly do that. But I think the first thing to check on is also, did they put their correct major, minor into the system, so that they're being assigned properly. But I have had several people this past semester, several faculty members who emailed me and said, actually, I would like this student, they belong with me, or likewise, there's a student here that does not belong with me. And Peter Kumar and I have had very good conversations over that. So I really want to clean up that system as much as we can. So the more I hear from you about specific students, the better we can become at making sure students are aligned properly.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yep.
If just one thing to add, if students are not in the right programs, please advise them to update their program of study online. That notifies us automatically, and then we're reassigning them when they update their programs. We're reassigning them to the correct faculty member. So
right, and this
Thanks,
becomes and this becomes very important. One of the things that Tracy's team has done with unbelievable success in the last 2 years is, as part of the strategic plan, the goal was to do audits every, I think it was at 30 credits, right, Tracy?
Yes, we've actually just been doing it for the full population though.
Right. But Tracy's team is actually up to that game to do full degree audits on all students continually, which is incredible. And it's actually driven down the number of classes taken outside of major. So that those degree audits are identifying, hey, this student is taking something that they just don't need for their degree, and then getting a phone call. And they dropped the number of classes taken outside of major by 30, I think it was 30%, right, Tracy, in the last year? It was something phenomenal like that.
Yeah, it was a high percentage, but we're
Yeah.
doing a lot of outreach to students, so.
Right. But having wrong information in the system about their program, so if they change majors or something like that, will really throw off that. It almost guarantees them that they get a call regarding their degree audit showing classes that they don't need in their schedule. So that's one way we catch them as well, but it's a lot cleaner if when you're talking to a student, if you just tell a student to update their major appropriately as well. Anything to add to that, Tracy?
Nope, I think that's good. Thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, I have a question here. Scott, my question is, I'm pulling up a student in automotive, which I see in my list of advisees.
Mhm.
And I see a host of other courses which he would never attempt, from history, not started. How does that, doesn't it automatically look at the major that is offered by which the student has declared and take only those courses? Because I see a host of courses, 64 calc, 151 not started. I don't know how to, or my faculty would probably be a little confused on that, or is there a better way of doing that?
It's probably, that sounds to me like it's worth a phone call to the student. Is this the major you intend, and why are you taking these classes?
No. What I'm saying is, he declared the major as automotive service technology.
Okay.
And should it not pull automotive service technology as is listed with the courses versus all these courses that it is listing, which is clearly not part of the automotive technology program?
Oh, that's concerning.
Are you
Peter,
looking at the
are
general
the-
education?
Beg your pardon?
Are you looking at the general education piece? Because the way the system works is it lists general education first, and it will list every single course that will fulfill that requirement. So sometimes, like humanities and social sciences, the list is humongous because they just have to pick one from that list. So it will be a very large list, but if you read up at the top, it just says select one.
Right.
And I'm thinking that's probably what you're looking at.
Well, Tracy, here it says, complete all of the courses following items: Physics 1, Physics 151, Chemistry 150, and Chemistry 151. I can check with you on a one-on-one basis. Let's not hold this up. Yeah, sorry about that.
No, but that's anytime we have questions like that, let's bring them up so we make sure that
I can
our
check with you,
process is
Tracy.
working. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Anytime we see something that's and usually it's explainable, but anytime we see something like that, let's make sure. The other thing that Tracy and I have talked about is, because for our transfer students, and this really gets into our conversation earlier, right, Stephanie? For our transfer students, selecting some of these courses becomes much more critical to ensure that they have classes that they will transfer cleanly and that they need, not just for graduation here, but ultimately graduation at their next institution. And so one of the things I really want to do is put together probably the same team to start really looking at those transfer agreements that we have and how we can ideally clean them up to actually be automatized in our audit system. Right now, they are not. So you need to work with, if you know a student is going to transfer somewhere, you really need to go into their catalog or into our articulation agreements, which are listed online, and look at the courses that fulfill those requirements at the transfer institution. So that becomes important. Felice, yes.
Kind of speaking to that same idea, Scott, we have had quite a few students within this last academic year that have received some really incorrect information. So unfortunately, when they have not met with our full-time counselors, when they've possibly met with some part-time people, they were receiving incorrect information. So it would be really important, I think, on our end that if those people don't have the answer, that they check in with those full-time faculty counselors or the full-time faculty themselves in that area, to avoid students from starting on the wrong path and taking those extra courses. Because I think sometimes that is the reason that students are delayed in their program.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been looking around, and we're not the only institution that has this issue. I mean, it's really I come from Florida where we had a common course numbering system. Every program was the same, no matter what institution you went to. It was wonderful for advising. But here we have a free for all where every college has their own and even changes on a dime in terms of the coursework that they require. Washtenaw has really put together a nice system for this where they are detailing the transfer tracks for each program in terms of a pathway. So if anyone wants to take a look at that, that's worthwhile. But I really want to work with the faculty to look at each of your programs, how they transfer to our most common transfer institutions, and clean this up. It'll take a while, but really devise it so that it works well with our degree audit system as well. That way, we're really ensuring that students are not taking courses that they ultimately won't need at the transfer institution. So yeah, I'm right in line with you, Felice, and that need. All right, other questions? I'm going to stop the recording at this point. We have the bulk of the training there. All right.